everyone, and welcome back to episode 54 of my F1 2016 Toro Rosso career mode. Guys, here today at the Chinese Grand Prix. Going to be a very interesting race for myself here today. You know, China, always a track that everyone knows it for the way it shreds the rear tyres. You know, I'm not too sure how well that will fare for myself. If you did miss the last episode, guys, I would highly recommend going and checking out. It was the best career mode race I think I've ever had. So I won't give you any spoilers just yet, but seriously, go and check out that episode. But you can see already moving on into the third race of the season, Lewis Hamilton has a 20-point lead at the top of the drivers' standings. I find myself currently up in second place after, you know, two very solid results in the first two races of the season. But moving on then straight away into free practice and onto my track acclimatization lap. You see, purple, you know, perfect lap. By this point, you know, in sort of season 4, you basically know all the tracks. And then moving on to my qualifying simulation lap. See, coming up towards the line, and we go purple there as well. So, you know, 100 easy R&D points. There are probably, you know, a few more from a couple of little achievements. So now, as you can see, moving on back into the garage, and we're up to 184 R&D points there, with the 145 that we bagged in that session. So, you know, I doubt we might be able to get an upgrade on the car ready for the next race out, but, you know, potentially, if we get some good R&D during qualifying, we might be able to get a fuel efficiency upgrade, but I'm really not too worried about that at the moment. But then moving on then into qualifying and straight away into Q1 here, and I actually opted to go on a set of the soft tyres here in Q1. You know, we've got the fourth quickest car on the grid now, so we should be able to make it through very, very easily there, taking out a bollard on the exit of the final corner there. We moved straight up into P4, which, you know, left us down in P13 overall in the session, right behind Sebastian Vettel, who once was the other driver on a set of the soft tyres there. So, you know, very, very happy with that. You know, proving that we've got very, very good pace in this car. One big surprise though, once again, the Williams, Felipe Massa this time, not even making it out of Q1 there. You know, Williams really on the cusp and still trying to make it out on a set of the soft tyres there, so, you know, that hasn't paid out well for him. You can see that he's joined with both the Manners, both Renaults and Marcus Ericsson. But now moving on then into Q2 here, and it's a very rainy affair here, you know. We basically tried to time it so we went out at the best stage of qualifying there, you know. A lot of drivers just trying to get as many laps as they possibly could in these wet conditions, because it was looking like it potentially at this stage of the weekend could be a wet race. But coming down towards the line, and we go over a second quicker than anyone else on our qualifying lap there in Q2. They're pretty damn happy with that, as you can see. By the end of the session, it did actually dry up right at the very end there, so a few drivers managed to get through, but we're up in P6 there. Both myself and Danny Kvyat there making it into Q3 there, so, you know, very, very happy with that for the team. Both on a set of the intermediate tyres there. Unfortunately, Lewis Hamilton out of Q2 there, so, you know, if he gets a bad race tomorrow, we could really close down the gap to him, as well as Fernando Alonso and Daniel Ricciardo. None of those drivers making it into Q3 there, so, you know, we saw a little bit of a surprise there, as well as Sebastian Vettel only just making it through. You know, we saw Jenson Button, Sergio Perez, Romain Grosjean, three drivers you didn't really expect to get into Q3 did there, just through the changeable conditions. But now moving on then onto my Q3 lap here, right behind Sergio Perez here. He was actually out on an out lap at this stage of the session, so, you know, kind of hoping he would move to the side here. We're going to take as much slipstream as we possibly can, coming down towards the final hairpin. You know, we're going to have to look up the inside of Perez there as he tries holding it side by side with me there. He turns in ever so slightly on me as he ran a little bit wide on the exit of the corner there, but he gets the undercut on me there, and we're basically just going to have to force him to back out there, get really good traction at the final corner. But coming through into the final kink there, just taking out the bollard once again there, just showing how hard we are pushing in this session. Up towards the line, we go pole position there once again, so very, very happy with that lap. And midway through the session there, we've got 3 minutes left to go, so maybe we could see a couple more drivers go quicker than me there. As you can already see back in the box though, I'm going to skip the end of the session there, and we did in fact take pole position over Kimi Räikkönen, Nico Rosberg and Jenson Button there. My teammate Daniel Kvyat there, very, very solid up in 6th place there. He took my setup out for Q3 there, guys. But, you know, pole position, sorry, for the Chinese Grand Prix. Let's have a look back at what happened last season.
they find me.
So here we are then, guys, on the grid, ready for the Chinese Grand Prix. Myself taking pole, head of Kimi Raikkonen, Nico Rosberg and Jenson Button fill out the second row with the Red Bull and the Toro Rosso there making row 3. Sebastian Vettel, Sergio Perez, Romain Grosjean and Bottas rounding out the top 10 there. There's Lewis Hamilton down in P12 there, you know, not very good qualifying for him. He just got caught out in those intermediate conditions there. And just looking even further down the grid, Felipe Massa down in P18. They're not exactly what he wanted with the Renaults and the Manas filling out the back 2 rows there. But pole position, obviously, we've given myself the best possible start for the Grand Prix today, you know. It's looking very, very good. I'm hoping, you know, based on my qualifying pace, that it would rain in this race here. But just have a look at these stints here, guys. You can see we're going to be fiddling around a lot with this, because what we're going to try and do, guys, is go from a set of the mediums to a set of these soft tyres, you know, hoping we can one-stop this Grand Prix there. So, albeit, though, I'm trying to get this strategy that I want to work, but, you know, it's very, very... F1 doesn't really want to listen to the strategy I wanted to roll with. Unfortunately, we've only got one set of medium tyres here, which was what was causing the problems. But now we're just going to try and force every pit back even further into the Grand Prix there. So, you know, just fiddling around with this. Obviously, the team will be pretty interested into why I'm trying to do a 5-stop Grand Prix here, guys. But, you know, that's what we're actually going with. We're going with a one-stop race from a set of the mediums to a set of the soft tyres here. But, you know, China, probably the worst track on the calendar for shredding tyres, especially with the tyre strategy that, you know, the tyres you are given for this Grand Prix, you know. I think they are, in 2017, running the 3 sets of the hardest tyres there, but, you know, going to be very, very interesting. The team think, you know, I'm stretching these tyres as far as I possibly can, and I think we're actually going to have to stretch them further than the team really think is ideal there. But on the grid then, ready for the Chinese Grand Prix. Going to be a very, very interesting Grand Prix. 5 lights, and away we go there. Charlie Whiting really not wanting to hang around there with the lights. And coming down towards turn 1, we're going to go very, very defensive from Kimi Raikkonen there. But Nico Rosberg goes right round my outside there. Completely unexpected, just like he did to Japan last year there. But we're going to try and hold it up the inside through turn 1 there. Obviously, the very, very long sweeping turn 1. And we somehow managed to get back into the lead there. But take a little bit of curb on the exit of turn 2 there. Rosberg going to pounce on the opportunity once again there. He's on his set of the super soft tyres there, so, you know, he's very, very quick. But we're once again going to try and pounce, and we're going to look up the inside into turn 3 there, forcing Nico Rosberg a little bit wide over the curbs. And are we going to be able to hold on to the lead of the Grand Prix? We're going to be side by side up towards the S section there, having a look round his outside there, and we have managed to get the front end just ahead of him there, go a little bit on the grass, and we're going to have to unfortunately back out of that position there as we just get forced out wide. And Rosberg holds on to the lead of the Grand Prix there in those opening few corners there. Jenson Button also having a look, trying to get around the outside there, guys. But now on the end of lap 2, Nico Rosberg really wanted to try and push a gap here. You know, he's gone for a very, very, very different strategy to the rest of the AI here. As you can see, Rosberg goes purple there. Myself, I've already lost over 1 second to him in the opening couple of laps there, and, you know, we're still trying to push these tyres, although albeit we will have to stretch them very, very far into this Grand Prix. But now on the end of lap 4, Rosberg, you could just see how much he's been pushing his car there as he already comes in for his first pit stop of the day. Only on the end of lap 4 this, you know, the AI, perhaps Rosberg's going for a 3, maybe even a 4-stop Grand Prix here. But now, as you can see on lap 7 here, we haven't been given much breathing space, as Max Verstappen now has closed me down absolutely massively on a set of soft tyres here. You know, we kind of saw the super softs being very, very quick at the start. Then the soft tyres, obviously, with that extended tyre wear on them. You know, you seem to be able to maintain very, very solid pace on that set of super soft of soft tyres. We've got Max Verstappen up in P2 there, piling on the pressure. And then we've also got my teammate of Danny Kvyat. They're looking very, very strong up in P3 here. So, you know, it's looking very, very good for him in this race. But Max Verstappen, obviously, right behind me. You know, we don't really want to hold him up too much. So I might let him pass, you know, just down the back straight. You know, not really going to try and force him, because all we're trying to do at this stage of the Grand Prix, guys, is just save these tyres. Try and keep them going for as long as we possibly can. You know, I was trying to think, you know, if we could get them to the halfway stage, maybe we could try and stretch a set of the soft tyres to the very end. But maybe, you know, if we can get to like lap 15, maybe even lap 16 in this Grand Prix, maybe we'll be able to get the set of the soft tyres to the end. But we run a little bit wide coming out onto the long back straight here. So, you know, we're going to move straight to the inside there, giving Max Verstappen the racing line down towards the hairpin. You know, we're not even going to try and defend from there. There's just so little point in doing so. We're just going to take the slipstream. You know, Max Verstappen, we do have a look down the inside just in case, you know, we don't want to run into the back end of him there. But Max Verstappen inherits the lead now of the Grand Prix here. You know, he should be able to push for these next couple of laps until it's time for him to make his pit stop in this Grand Prix. You can just see now, moving on then to the to the end of lap 9 there. And there is Max Verstappen going into the pit lane, as well as my teammate Danny Kvyat there. So, we're back up into the lead of the Grand Prix here. But now on lap 11, as you can see, the tyres at this point of the Grand Prix were really, really struggling. And I was thinking, honestly, guys, we had completely bottled the strategy here. Already 60% wear in just 11 laps of this Grand Prix here. You got to remember, guys, this is the hardest set of tyres we can use for this Grand Prix, so it's not even like we're on the medium set or anything. But now moving on to lap 13 here, just seeing, if we have another set of the medium tyres here, but unfortunately we don't. And the tyre wear already up nearly at the puncture rate, up 70% there. So, we're trying to stretch these tyres as far as we possibly can go. The pace has completely dropped off here, guys. We were losing near enough a second per sector to Max Verstappen there. So 3 seconds a lap to Verstappen here. We can see now on the end of lap 15, the tyres at 78% wear there, guys. And we're going to try and stretch them out for one final lap here. I thought if we can get to the end of lap 16 there, we should be able to get a set of the soft tyres to the very end of the Grand Prix. But it's going to be a huge, huge gamble here. Because, it's looking quite likely like we might get a puncture. But somehow by the end of lap 16 here, you can see the tyres up to 82% wear there, guys. Miles into the puncture zone. And somehow, these tyres are staying on the car. No idea how we're managing to do this. We've got to try and drive so smoothly there. We were losing to Max Verstappen a rate of near enough 5 seconds on that final lap there. As we come into the pit lane now, at the end of lap 16 here, we've got a 12-lap stint on a set of the soft tyres here. But coming into the pit lane, we absolutely nailed the braking zone there. Absolutely perfectly there, but it's going to be interesting to see what position we do come out of the pits in. We already lost the position to Max Verstappen there as he comes back out in the lead of the Grand Prix. And I think Lewis Hamilton, the car that was in second, as well as my teammate Danny Kvyat there, both come into the pit lane there as well. We unfortunately get a 3-second pit stop there, but we're going to be able to come back out, guys, in P2 of this Grand Prix there. So, very, very happy with that. Somehow, as I said, stretching those tyres as far as we possibly could in that opening phase of the race, if you will. Half the race length there. Somehow we managed to hold on a set of those tyres. But Max Verstappen then, on the end of lap 17, he's going to opt to make his second pit stop of the day here. And he's going to move back onto a set of the medium tyres here. So, he's trying to stretch these tyres to the very end of the Grand Prix. I was kind of hoping that he'd try and do 2 sets of super soft tyres there. But Max Verstappen being very, very clever with his strategy here. And, he's able to, he should be able to get to the end of the Grand Prix unless he sees like a puncture or anything. But now on lap 21 here, guys, you can see coming to the end of lap 21. And the tyre were on these set of soft tyres here. I don't know what the AI were doing, but they could stretch their tyres so much better than me. We're only halfway through this stint, and the tyres are already at 40% wear there, So it's not looking very, very strong for this second stint here, We may end up having to go for like a final 3-4 lap stint on a set of the super soft tyres here. But, we're trying to hold these tyres for as long as we possibly can. But now on the end of lap 22, coming onto the long back straight here, we thought, we'll cut the losses. We'll move on to a set of the super soft tyres here for the final 6 laps of the Grand Prix. The tyres already at 50% wear here, halfway through our stint. So, they were going to be at 95% by the end of the race there. There's no way we're able to defend the rest of the cars with that sort of tyre wear, guys. Like, I don't know if you guys remember at the end of Season 1, we were having to defend from the air with 90% tyre wear, and unfortunately the tyre blew out at the very start of the final lap of the Grand Prix. So we're not going to make that mistake again. We're going to come into the pits on the end of lap 22 here, move on to a set of the super soft tyres, going for a 5-lap sprint to the end of the Grand Prix. Going to be very, very interesting to see if it can work out for myself here. But coming into the pit lane, and we get a 2.1 second pit stop. That's more what I like there, guys. We're already down, unfortunately, into P3 there. My teammate, Danny Kvyat, still up in a very, very strong 4th place there for him. But, we managed to hold on to P3 here. Now, obviously, it's just a push to see if we can get back past Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen here. So, we haven't completely lost this race yet. A bit like what Hamilton managed to do last time out at the Bahrain Grand Prix, where he managed to hunt me down in the final few laps of the Grand Prix. So, the hunted has become the hunter now. And now moving on to the end of lap 24, as you can see, pushing the car to the absolute limit as we come out the final corner there. We set a purple lap time over 1 minute 37.2 there. And the gap to Lewis Hamilton has been massively, massively decreasing in these final few laps here. It was looking like we should be able to get him on the final couple of laps here. But now moving on to the end of 26 here. And you can see the gap has not been able to come down any further. We'd basically reached the point now where the tyres are just completely gone. And now, as you can see on lap 28, the tyre went up to 80% once again. So unfortunately, we had sort of those 2 laps where it was looking like we could do it. But unfortunately, by the end of the race there, guys, we're not going to be able to hold on with the tyre wear. The tyre wear around this track is just absolutely appalling. It cost me an AOR as well, guys, if you do remember. We had 2 punctures during that race, which, was quite frankly a bit ridiculous, I won't lie. But the tyre, you can see there, 84% coming into the final hairpin, so we shouldn't be able to get a blowout, and even if we do, it shouldn't really affect us. But Max Verstappen wins the Grand Prix ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Finally, Red Bull take home some points, guys, but P3 in the Chinese Grand Prix, a little bit disappointing, but, still another solid podium. But there we are then, guys, the end of race 3 of season 4 there. Max Verstappen takes the race win, finally proving that Red Bull, even though they've had a very, very unlucky opening 2 races there, they take home 35 points there in that Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, does not make it 3 from 3, but takes home another 18 points and further extends his championship lead over myself there, as you know. Nico Rosberg, unfortunately, just missing out, as well as Daniel Ricciardo, finally as well taking home some points. That's actually the first race this season Daniel Ricciardo has finished. And P5 there, not really too bad an opening, well, a finishing race for himself. Unfortunately, there, as you can see, Dani Kvyat lost the pace right at the very end there of the race. So, a bit disappointed for him. It was looking very, very strong, like we could take home 27 points for the team there. But unfortunately, Danny's tyres, as well as my own, they just were absolutely shredded. Looking down the bottom of the grid there, I think that was Kimi Räikkönen took home the final point, with Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso just both missing out there, as they both had to go into 3-stop races there. Valtteri Bottas and both Manners failed to finish that Grand Prix there. Both Manners actually had engine failures right at the very end of the race there. But you could just see, having a look at the point standings, Lewis Hamilton once again extends his lead, as I said, guys, up to 68 points from a total 75. We're still holding on to P2 there with a very, very solid position. 45 points for myself, with Nico Rosberg on 33. And then we got the Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel. Max Verstappen jumps up from basically last place all the way up to 5th there, so you can see how much that win obviously will affect his championship. Just ahead of Nico Hülkenberg there, with my teammate Dani Kvyat up in P7 still. Looking at the constructors though, we hold on to P2 over on the constructors. They're miles behind Mercedes, but miles ahead of Ferrari, guys. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you're new around here, guys, for more of my Toro Rosso career mode, guys. And hopefully I will see you guys next time out at the Russian Grand Prix.